So I'm here with my buddy Daniel Broome. He's an entrepreneur and he's a military veteran. Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I was born in Arizona, a small town just south of Phoenix. Went to high school there, joined the military from there in '96. Was in the Army I was 11 Bravo, airborne, stationed in Fort Richardson, Alaska, Fort Wainwright, Alaska. I was JRTC Op 4 at Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Okay.
Got out in 2001, towards the end of 2001. Moved to Washington State. Realized that I didn't have any real skills other than shooting machine guns and jumping out of airplanes at the time.
We infantry guys do a lot of that.
Yeah. Found a job as a security guard at a casino there in Washington State. Then they asked me to work in the cashier's cage as a cashier at the casino.
So in other words, you've done a lot since getting out of the military.
A ton, yeah. I mean, I worked as a casino. I worked my way up to casino management there. Relocated myself to Texas. Did various jobs. Worked for the post office, and then found my way in sales.
Because one thing with a lot of veterans, they get out and they don't know what they want to do, and they jump around. Some had this idea that they should know what they want to do, and there's this one thing they should be doing. Jumping around is normal. Like, you got to figure your stuff out. You got to get to know what your groove is. When you go from having guaranteed pay, and this is your job in the military, you have a tight-knit team, to going straight into the civilian world, transitioning, where there's like no loyalty. People don't get the mindset of a team. People whine and complain all the time. Nobody seems to know their role because the leaders aren't good enough leaders sometimes to let them know what their role is. And so, like, getting out can be a pretty rough transition. Now, I want to ask you this. Did you come from wealth? I mean, because there's this really pathetic idea in our society that if you do well, if you're rich or if you're doing well, whatever, rich is relevant, but if you're doing well, somehow it's to someone else's disadvantage and it was somehow handed to you. Now, did you come from a place where stuff was handed to you?
No, not at all. I grew up in a very blue collar, my parents were very blue collar folks. That's one of the reasons I joined the military, because the area that I grew up in was just, there's a lot of poverty there and stuff. I didn't necessarily grow up poor, but my dad's owned an auto parts business for the past 40 years that he still owns and works his butt off every day. So definitely didn't come from a wealthy family or anything like that. But I did come from, my dad instilled in me really early on, before I even knew he was doing it, is the importance of work ethic. I mean, work ethic has been something that...
So you think it takes hard work to get stuff done?
Yeah,
because that's like blasphemy to not. I wouldn't say all millennials, because millennials, being the younger generation now, people classify them that way, and a lot of that's true. But it's obviously like any generalization about a group of people. You can't obviously put everybody in one group. But there's this idea that you can open up a business and people will just come to you.
Yeah, that hasn't been my experience.
No, and it's not anyone's experience if they've actually done business.
Sure.
I mean, it's like it takes work. And it's like you're in this thing for the long game. It takes patience, consistent effort. It's these things that people don't want to believe. And one reason I think we have that problem is because on social media, everybody sees, this is just an example, everyone sees the outcome, the result, the success. They don't see the 10 or 15 years it took to get to that point. Absolutely. It's like I heard one guy say, he said, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And I couldn't agree more. And I don't think most people getting out of the military have a problem with that. Not our audience, because we've been paid less than anybody to do worse work than just about anybody. I mean, getting shot at and blown up for $2,000 a month. I mean, come on. It's pretty. We don't typically, at least in the combat arms sector of the military, we don't have a real high standard of expectation, a standard of expectation. So we're not really disappointed that often that it takes more work than we thought it would. So
that's true. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I think just to add to that too is like, it's almost a sense of being humble. Like no jobs. I think maybe that's what you're trying to say is like no job is is too menial for us.
We're not above anything,
right. We're not above anything.
especially if it needs to be done.
Exactly, and with the Facebook and social media and Instagram, and we all see the best of everybody. We see nobody's going to take a picture of themselves when they're scrubbing a toilet or whatever. But that stuff like that goes on, and on
Now
the
what?
path to success.
Now that's a good point. What would happen? Like, pick one of the most successful entrepreneurs that you like listening to that you can think of. Name one guy.
Recently I've been watching a lot of Gary V's.
Okay, so let's say if you watched a thing, and let's say Gary Vee did a video. He hasn't, but let's say he did one, and he said, "Hey, you know what? My time's important, but I'm not above scrubbing toilets." And it shows him wiping a toilet down in his office. He goes, "Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm a busy guy, but I'm not above anything."
Yeah.
And if something has to be done, it's not about the toilet. It's about the guy's willing to do what it takes. Like, what if you saw a video like that? What would that make you think of the guy?
That it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna make that up.
Like, this guy's a real deal. Like, he's not above doing that. Like,
sure.
Like, all the money, all the success and fame, it's like he's doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes I think leaders need to do something like that, not for show, not for the purpose of orchestrating it and prefabricating a message, but if they're doing it, capturing that, because it lets people know, even though I'm this high up, I'm not above everything.
Absolutely, it's leading by example.
Yeah, and people respect the heck out of that.
I agree. I mean, that's I worked as I managed a sales team down in a call center sales team, and that was one of my most, I don't want to say effective tactics, because I was doing it for the right reasons, but showing my guys that I'll get on the phone too, and I'll talk to customers, and I'll make a sale.
Leading by example.
Leading by example.
Yes.
Exactly.
Lead from the front.
That's right.
If you're gonna send some guy to go in first into a cave in Afghanistan, it's like, be willing to go in yourself first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's key. Now, you did pretty well in this sales job you're talking about. You got out of the Army as an infantry guy. You bounced around a little bit. You were making a pretty comfortable 6-figure income.
That's right.
In this job, and did obviously very well. And you decided to walk away from that and start an Amazon business. And we're not going to go major in depth, but I want to touch on that, because a lot of veterans getting out of the military, or they've been out for a while, they think there's this idea that you can't actually make real money online, selling stuff online. You couldn't make a living doing that. You couldn't make any real money doing that. What would your response to that be?
Well, I've learned that there's Amazon millionaires, and I'm nowhere near there. But I guess I'm not sure I understand your question. Well, my response would be to people that say that.
Like, if you got a guy watching this video right now, he's a veteran, he's wanting to start a business, and someone says, "Hey, you should sell stuff on Amazon. You can make money there," and he just doesn't believe it. He just doesn't buy it. Like,
Sure.
Is it actually possible?
It's absolutely possible. I'm doing it now.
Okay.
I left my 6-figure income about 10 months ago, but have been doing the Amazon thing for about 15 months.
Okay.
And I'm definitely, I'm not an Amazon millionaire yet, and they're out there, but I'm making a comfortable living.
You and I don't live in the worst area in America. We live just a couple minutes north of Frisco, Texas, which is actually a very nice, newer developed area. It's high middle class, basically, to mega millionaires down the street. I mean, Deion Sanders used to live a mile from here.
Yeah. Cowboys just moved in their practice facility down the street.
Yeah, and they just moved theirs here. So this isn't an area that like anybody could just live in. So it's like this has to work for you.
Yeah.
And you walked away from what you did. Now tell us a little bit about what exactly it is you sell on Amazon, because this is going to blow some people's minds. All right.
Well, I sell music instrument accessories, some music instruments, but mostly accessories, tuners, guitar pedals, guitar straps. I focus mostly on guitar because my company is still young, and I'm a guitar player, amateur guitar player. So, but it's unbelievable to me how many people buy this one type of tuner that I sell on a daily basis. I didn't know so many people bought guitar tuners, and I'll sell probably over the course of a year an average of 15 or 20 of just the tuners a day.
Okay.
You know, it's
Guitar. So basically, you sell guitar accessories on Amazon and make a full-time living.
That's right. That's
Now,
exactly
you
right.
probably would have never guessed that you could make a living selling guitar accessories on Amazon. And we talked about this before we started shooting the video. I said, a lot of people just don't believe it's possible.
Yeah.
And then you said, I didn't either until I did it.
I didn't, yeah.
Like you were just playing around then. You were just kind of seeing where it would go, that kind of thing.
I knew that I really wasn't being fulfilled in the job that I was doing, as a sales manager, and it was a job that a lot of people really wanted, but I just didn't feel fulfilled. I wasn't happy, and
So money doesn't buy happiness after all?
not at all, no. In fact, I mean, to be frank, I was miserable. I didn't like going to work every day. I mean, there's certain things I liked about it, but
yeah,
I knew I wanted to get away from it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just a decision I made, okay, that's it, I'm leaving this job. It took a lot of courage and a lot of coaching myself and a lot of self-talk in my hour commute.
To make
traffic.
that leap.
Absolutely.
And hope that other vine is out there when you jump from one tree to the next.
That's right, yeah. And a little bit of preparation too,
Mm-hmm.
like looking at what my resources were, what did I have saved, which wasn't a bunch of money, but how long could I live on that if I didn't sell a single item?
So yeah, how long can I live on this if this doesn't work?
Yeah, and here's the most important thing I think too, is that I didn't leave my job and then start doing that the next day.
Okay.
I started doing that at night in the evenings while I was working the job.
You started a side hustle.
I started a side hustle.
Okay.
And the wife and I would, we'd go to work. We both worked full-time corporate jobs, and at night we'd dedicate 2-3 hours, 4 hours sometimes to it, and we would hustle. And it wasn't always easy to find the time to do it, but a few months of that, and I realized, wow, if I put more time and effort into this, I could sell more. And then that's when I decided to.
So what would you say are some of the, maybe just 2 or 3 of the major challenges that veterans face in transitioning to starting their own business? And by this I mean really it's probably just the same ones that you dealt with. I think you touched on it already. Will this work? Can I make the leap? What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that keep them from getting into this place where they can control their schedule and have financial freedom?
Oh, well, one of them is probably just, the idea that you were talking about how most people don't believe it's possible. We're sort of brought up in a society where that is sort of like a pipe dream. We're taught that that's a pipe dream, and so that's one of them. I think veterans have a few advantages when it comes to that because I think we believe in ourselves. We've been taught to believe in ourselves and what we're capable of through being tested in the military, combat arms and a lot of other professions like that. Another challenge is getting your family and friends on board. And you may have a lot of family and friends that love you more than anybody, but are going to be talking to you and telling you what a bad idea that is. That would never work.
And I'll tell you this, that's a good point. One of the more shocking things, and I want everyone to get this, sometimes the people that you think are going to talk against you, it's not, a lot of times it's not them. The most shocking thing that really sets you back and can take the wind out of your sails is that a lot of times the people who actually come against you are the ones closest to you that you would never expect would come against you.
Right.
Like it's that unexpected, it's like getting blindsided.
Absolutely.
And it's like this, you've known this person for years, they've always, and the thing about it, I heard a guy just say this one time, and this is everybody, people get weird sometimes, unfortunately. But I heard a guy say one time, people don't mind if you're successful, just as long as you're not more successful than they are.
Oh, that's
because
true.
people have this idea, and they don't even know they're thinking it, but this is the root of it. Is that if you succeed so far beyond where they've gone, no matter what it is, they have this feeling that it's somehow making them look bad.
Right. Yeah. Which is obviously not true. You can light
Totally
a candle and the other candle doesn't lose its flame.
Very well put.
But I agree with that because I experienced that. I had folks that when they found out that I left my full-time job would just expect that I wasn't busy, you know, and when the truth of the matter was, is I was getting up and hustling. This was do or die time, you know, getting up, hustle, and do.
I'm up until 1 or 2 a.m. almost every night.
Are you?
Not because, you know, like people say, oh, you can't sleep because of the war and everything that happened. You know, I got, you know, nailed by a suicide bomber in Kandahar, and you know, but that isn't the reason I'm up. I'm up because my mind is wired, and I think actually,
I'm the same way, actually.
I think the military is to blame for that because we did so many missions of ours at nighttime.
Sure.
Because we own the night, obviously, and so I think because about 11 o'clock at night, my mind just starts. It turns on.
Yeah.
And so that's my most productive time. Nobody's distracting me. Wife and kids are in bed, and I'm not even pushing my business. I'm putting in effort, but with my business, I'm being pulled in this direction.
Sure.
So it's not like it's me just, I think I'll try that out. There's something about what I do that pulls me in that direction. That's really important to realize. Well, like, where do you feel, I don't want to say called to, but what do you feel led to? Are you just grinding and pushing something, or is it something that there's something inside you that it pulls you in that direction? Because it's a lot easier to get where you want to go when you feel like you're being led or pulled in a certain direction. And sometimes you can't even explain why. You just feel pulled in this direction. Now, it still takes effort, but obviously, but we don't ever want to overlook that because some people, they just think, you know, if I set it up, it should happen. If you build it, they will come. No, they're not coming.
Yeah.
Like, they will not come.
You know what? That's a great point too, and I agree with that because, and I experienced something like that. But I want to add to it. I think that sometimes when you're being pulled in a direction that seems, speaking of, you know, well, that's impossible. That would never work. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to kind of think outside of the box too, because for me, I was being pulled. I love music. I'm passionate about music. Always have been. It brings me a lot of enjoyment.
Yeah.
And so when I felt like I was being pulled somewhere, it was open a music store, open up a guitar center or something, you know, and then you start doing the math, and wow, that's a lot of guitars. That's a lot of big expenses.
You know what's interesting? Like, there's a study, I don't remember who did it, but recently I saw the graph of like online sales during the last holiday season, online sales versus brick and mortar sales, and brick and mortar sales were like this, online sales were like this.
Oh, yeah.
It was the difference between like 30 million and 300 million. Like, in online sales, like 100 times outsold. And the thing about it is it levels the playing field with people like you and me, so we can start, because we have low inventory, low startup cost. We don't have to pay for a building, electric, insurance, you know, employees, and all the expense that comes with that.
And the internet provides unlimited number of customers.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's true. Like, our grandparents, you know, we didn't have the internet. I mean, our parents didn't have the internet when they were our age, you know? So
Nope.
The traditional way of thinking is you got to invest on a property, whether it's renting or buying a property, then a ton of inventory and everything else. When, I mean, we live in a period of time where you're carrying in your pocket everything that you need to start a business.
It's easier nowadays to get started than ever. The barrier to entry is just about non-existent compared to what it used to be. I mean, you had told me before, like, or tell me this, like, how much money did it cost you to open up, to become an Amazon seller, or whatever they call it, so you can start selling? How much did that cost you?
About $200.
$200.
About $200, and I probably didn't even need to spend that.
And you didn't even need to spend that.
Yeah.
So really, if you're looking to open a business and you're not willing to put $200 into it, or even if you don't have it, put it on a darn credit card. I don't advise credit cards, but beg, borrow, or steal $200 if you need. But you could basically get on Amazon and become a seller for all little to nothing.
That's right. That's right. And the other beautiful thing about it too is it's unlikely, I don't want to say you won't, but it's unlikely that you're going to create an Amazon account, list something for sale, and get 500 sales in the first day. It's unlikely that's going to happen. And that wasn't my experience, but you can scale it easy too. I mean, I viewed those first couple months, 2-3 months, as learning how to do it. You know, learning how my volume sort of steadily picked up. I made 5 sales.
So you had to work out the kinks.
Work out the kinks, you know, what envelope to use to ship these tuners in, and that's what I started with, was tuners. I sell a lot more stuff now, but what envelope to use, you just sort of learn all the different things.
The most efficient, cheapest way, and the best way. Yeah. And we'll get into all that actually in another video, because we're going to come back and I want to talk about setting up an actual Amazon business, because so many guys get out of the military, they want to start a business, but they're like, I need to take out a loan and all this stuff. It all depends on what you're doing, what you're trying to do, but you do not need a loan. I even heard Mark Cuban say the other day on a video, he's billionaire owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He started with nothing. In his words, he said, if you take out a loan to start a business, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I agree.
And I agree, because it's like there's so many ways now to start a business and to make money. You just got to know them. And so I want to ask you this as we wrap up. What would you say if somebody's wanting to start a business? We have a veteran, wants to become an entrepreneur, wants that freedom, work from home or control the schedule, just wants to make an extra $500,000 a month, because that would change most people's lifestyle.
Yeah. All
right, just a side hustle that makes an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. What would you say to a guy or a gal who's a military veteran who wants to get in business? What would be like 1 or 2 or maybe 1 to 3 tips on just getting started? Anything at all?
Sure. So I think a really important piece, and it's something that I practiced, was you don't have, make sure that you're making, even if they're small efforts, always be moving in that direction. Always be making, it may seem like a small effort that you're making towards that goal that day that you do it, but continuous effort towards what you're wanting to do. You can go to your full-time job, but when you get home, instead of, plugging in 4 hours at night on TV, watch an hour and then go spend 3 hours on pursuing your goal. Because those small efforts add up to a really big,
definitely.
They aggregate.
So in other words, don't be afraid to just start, try things. If it fails, okay, you learn what didn't work. So then you just kind of readjust. It's like when you're calling in air support, or if you're calling in artillery.
Yeah.
You've been in the military, you'll get this. They're launching in, you gotta walk it in.
Yeah.
Adjust fire, this many, whatever here and down, up this many, right that many, and you walk it in, and you walk in the rounds, and then they hit a little bit off again, but they're closer. Then they're a little bit off, but they're a little bit closer. Then they hit the target.
Yeah.
And then you call in, you say fire for effect, and they start lobbing those suckers by the boatloads, and they just destroy the target. That's the same thing in business. I mean, there's going to be hangups. There's going to be pitfalls. There's going to be little things that you don't do right, you screw up. You're going to piss somebody off. You're going to accidentally do something someone didn't understand. And it's like, that's life. That's part of the process, but you're fine-tuning it.
Yeah.
It's like you're sharpening the tip of a blade, and you're getting it fine-tuned where it's now starting to produce, and it's at the point like you are right now. So I want to ask you, is it worth it, taking the leap in entrepreneurship?
Absolutely.
Absolutely?
It's absolutely been worth it, yeah. And I'm still...
Tell me real quick, one or two reasons why it's worth it most to you.
Because I control, biggest thing for me is I control my own schedule.
Okay.
I'm doing something that I enjoy a lot more. And also, 100% of my efforts are directly benefiting me instead of...
So you control your life and income and your schedule.
That's right.
Not somebody else.
Exactly.
Okay, so...
I'm 100% responsible, and I get 100% of the reward.
That's right. You don't get just a small sliver, you get full commission.
Not at all, that's right.
Okay, so tell us, your company is called Bonsai Music, right?
That's right, Bonsai Music Supply Company.
So it's bonsaimusicsupply.com?
Correct.
Bonsai is spelled how?
With an S. It's BONSAI, musicsupply.com.
So check them out at bonsaimusicsupply.com. And if you want more great videos like this, free content on how to start or grow your existing veteran-owned business, go to veteranbusinesssuccess.com. Or if it's too hard to remember that way, just go to veteranbs.com, because that website goes straight to the same website, and we bought that just because it was shorter and easier to remember, and it's kind of catchy. So go to veteranbs.com, and we have a free resource on there for you that's going to help you connect on a deeper level with your customers so that they'll engage and connect with you more. That's how you grow a business. It's the fastest way to grow your business when you're speaking your customer's language. It's free. I don't want anything from you. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Go get it. You'll be glad you did. And Daniel, thanks again for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Brian.